Beautiful cards came out for this April reading. Actually, 6 cards wanted to come out instead of the usual 5 for the monthly readings. Let's dive in. So for the first card, what energy are you coming into the month of April with? We got the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is all about being at a turning point, feeling as if things are changing, and actually knowing that the wheel is always going up and down. And in a way, we don't really always have control over it. But it's also a good thing. Let's say if you're going through something kind of challenging, to remember that things will go back up, but then also to remember that when, let's say, you're going through really good moments, that it won't always last. And so to really take advantage of it. But it can also sometimes feel a little bit out of our control, because that's what the Wheel of Fortune is. It's a bit about reminding us that, like, we don't control everything in our life. And when we're somebody who really likes to control things, like I know a lot of people, me included, it can feel challenging to feel like, well, I want to control everything. But I do find that the Wheel of Fortune also brings this other wisdom to remember, which is, yes, the wheel will be turning. And, if you're on the outside of the wheel, it will really feel like you're going up and down, because like you'll be feeling everything. But if you do practices which bring you more to the center of the wheel, that can be so many things. That can be meditation, it can be journaling, it can go going for a walk, it can be doing something that has nothing to do with spirituality and just, doing a hobby, guitar, sports, anything like that. But when you're in the center, if the wheel is turning, you won't feel it as much, right? Because you can see that, like, the wheel will turn and you'll turn a little bit, but not as much as if you're on the outside. So I think this card is just reminding us that as we come into the month of April, to remember to do all our practices, because we're coming in with this energy of maybe feeling as if things are turning, changing, that we don't always have that control, but that it's also just that we do have action that we can take. Even if we're not in control of everything, we can take some action so that we can be in control of the way we actually respond to the changes that we don't have control over. So that's what we're coming into the month of April with. So what is your soul lesson for the month? For that, we got the 7 of Cups. And that is so crazy, because actually the 7 of Cups is the card that we got for the month of April in the video that I did here for the whole year. So it's amazing that it's coming here for this soul lesson this month. And then what is the 7 of Cups? The 7 of Cups is about having so many options, but feeling overwhelmed by them. It's almost like there's so many things happening and so many maybe routes that you could go down, but then not feeling like you can choose. It can be a good thing. It can be a lot of opportunities, but it's also that feeling of feeling overwhelmed. And this card shows it by almost having you not know which side is up or down. Because in a way, it's almost like, well, is it just snowy mountains with a dark sky and the moon above, or is it, a black mountain in daylight with the sun above? And it's like you don't really know. And so sometimes you feel confused and you don't know maybe which cup to choose, or maybe can you have them all? Can you put them all together? It's almost like you're feeling in limbo because you have so many of these options. And, as much as sometimes having options is a good thing, sometimes when you feel overwhelmed with it, it's not. So the soul lesson I feel this month, though, is about sitting with that feeling. It's about not feeling rushed to choose, not feeling like you have to get out of this uncomfortable situation, and to sit with that. Because in a way, also having so many opportunities is sitting with pure potential. All these cups have potential, and it's almost like you have to sit with them for a while to see maybe which one really has the pure potential. Sit with one idea and then be like, oh, when I sit with that idea, it feels really good, and kind of go down that road. And then later you might be like, oh, it doesn't. But it's about sitting with that kind of uncomfortableness and not rushing to get out, feeling that moment. What's really interesting too is to see how these first 2 cards are very similar in their imagery, with the moon on top and the sun at the bottom. And I just feel like it's probably linked to that feeling of like not being in control, is also the feeling perhaps that you're not feeling in control enough to be able to choose. Like you just don't feel like you have that capacity. And I think that the soul lesson here is not to feel rushed into one, and to just be okay with the uncertainty, which is so uncomfortable. Believe me, I know, but that's the soul lesson this month. What can you let go of this month? Well, funnily enough, I think it really responds to this one, which is this. We got the 8 of Wands, to what to let go. And the 8 of Wands is all about fast action, motion, taking, charge. And what's funny is like it's represented by this flash that's making this wheel turn. And so it's almost like we have to let go of that need to rush, let go of that need for movement, let go of that need for like, like maybe choosing and going down a road and pushing down only one of these roads. It's like, no, right now we kind of almost have to be still, be in this moment of like, almost kind of floating, like, ooh, what am I gonna do? And it's very uncomfortable. Instead of this, this has more like the action and like the motion. So yeah, definitely it's about leaning into this and letting go of the need for action, the need to choose, the need for necessarily like, going down only one path. And because sometimes when we're in this situation, we're so uncomfortable that we're like, okay, I'd rather just like, I'm going to move. I need to do something. I need to choose and like go and act on it. But actually, again, that's not the lesson this month. What can you lean into this month? For this question, we actually got two cards. We got the Magician and we got the Mother of Swords, the Queen of Swords. So it's really interesting. First of all, I love just how the imagery of these came out. The cheetah and the owl just have the same like, patterns on them. I had never noticed that in this deck, but they really seem so complementary. I also love to see this sword here and this one. It's almost like they're mirroring each other. This one also, the cheetah is looking at the owl and then the owl is looking straight at you. So it's so interesting to see that. So what are we leaning into this month? Well, first of all, the Magician. The Magician is all about actually being a manifester and taking action. And it's funny because we just said, what are we leaning out of? It's the action and the motion and the energy. But here, I don't think the action is about necessarily choosing one of your cups yet. I think the action is about just coming into your own and remembering that you have all the tools at your feet, that while you're in this limbo, that you can still be taking action by being yourself and being embodied without necessarily taking action. I don't know if that's making sense, but it's like remembering that you have the power, that you have that energy, but it's just that you also have the magic to make it happen is also by sitting there. And that in itself is action. And then we have the Mother of Swords. And the Mother of Swords is somebody who is basically able to cut through bullshit. And so she's able to kind of like see through things and not get swayed by her emotions. Because let's face it, when you're in this position, the Seven of Cups, first of all, cups have to do with our feelings and our emotions and our relationships. And so we can feel overwhelmed and we can feel kind of like we're out of control so much that we want to take action. But that's where she's able to come in and kind of like be able to look at things logically and rationally and not get swayed by her emotions, not get swayed by the moment of where she is, and maybe assess these cups in a logical manner without being like, oh, but what if I do this and I can't do that? Being able to see it from a more grounded perspective. And so I think that's what we're definitely leaning into this month. We're definitely leaning into this energy of remembering that you have the power, that you have the capacity to actually sit through this moment until things are clear, until you can see clearly. You can just sit there, still having the magic be inside without necessarily taking the concrete and fast action. So, what is the message of love for this month from your higher self or your guides? We got the Nine of Swords, which is hilarious because this doesn't look like a message, does it? That's a pretty hard card to get. But it's interesting. I'm getting two messages here. First of all, I feel like it's about remembering that, yes, it's okay that when we're going through these moments, like you're probably going to be feeling a lot of anxiety and fear because the Nine of Swords is all about that. It's all about what keeps us up at night. And this probably keeps us up at night, not knowing how to choose, being like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep going? And so it's all just about remembering that those feelings are normal and not to repress them, but also not to feed into them. Because again, it's when you are able to look at things logically that you can actually be okay and see what's really going on. But I think that's also the thing. You do need to look at what is worrying you. You do need to look at some of your fears and your shadow side, because it's when you actually face them head on and you look at them And you're like, oh, okay, that really does look gruesome. But when I actually look at it, it's just a couple of eyeballs and some, some worms. It's not the biggest of deals. And so I think that, for example, it's actually by addressing these things and looking at them and loving them with a lot of tenderness and knowing that you have the tools at your feet to be able to look at these things, that you might be able to actually finally kind of unblock yourself here. It might be while you're looking at some of your fears and anxieties that you're going to be able to address some of the things and kind of like help you be able to decide and help you see through all the kind of like uncertainty right now. So it's actually by kind of looking at things head on and remembering that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And so that's why it's actually a message of love, to remember that the things that you're going through, even this in itself is an anxiety, right? The fact that you're going through this is not a punishment. It's actually something that is for your highest good. And that if you can sit through it, you will actually be able to learn something and grow from it. And that's actually, I also think that's why we got these two major arcanas that came out in this reading, because major arcanas have to do with those lessons that are deeper and really important and that like have a big influence on us way down the line, not just for this month of April. So whatever you learn here, as you learn to sit with this uncertainty, it will be a lesson that you can then use later when something like this happens again. So on that, I'm wishing you a wonderful month of April. I'm sending you lots of love and lots of laughter as always, and I'll see you next video. Thanks so much for watching.